Video 1 of the game Puzzle Walker. In order to play this game, you need woods is the best, but it's not necessary. You could use other areas as well. I'm going to be going over the rules and how the game works. If you have a dog who's off leash and you don't know which way to go, you can follow her, unless she goes a way that doesn't look very good. You want to observe what route you think is the right route to take. You want to be aware of little gaps. Sometimes a gap you're supposed to see if you can get over without touching the sticks. Some gaps you are going to touch, and when you do touch the sticks, you want to try to get through the gap without breaking more than 3. So listen carefully with me. See if I can do this. There was a little snap. I don't think that one counted. Triangle. See the triangle right there? You step inside the triangle. Here's an obvious foothold spot. Step inside. And another one. You're being guided. You're looking for where it makes sense to step. Okay, ferns. If the fern is in your path, you may touch it with your hand, but not your body or your leg. Looks like I want to not touch this, so I jump. And then I'm going under here, because that made sense. Now I'm going this way. Sometimes you speed up, sometimes you slow down. Sometimes, depending on what level you're at, you end up off the forest floor and onto a log. Here looks like something. So I'm standing here and I can see that my move is to step through here without breaking it. I did have my hand here. A higher level would mean that I would have to use no hands. Know what level you're on. And don't try to do too much. If you don't know which way to go, follow the dog. See if you can keep up with him. That's not going to happen this time. Neighbor dogs wish they were not in a yard that's fenced in. And when I first started this game, okay, so you're stepping in between sticks, as well as attempting to not touch the fern. When I first started this game, I was on a level simpler than where I ended up a couple days ago. Once I finally completed that first level that I was on, the game got way more interesting. I was guided to more difficult routes. When the dog comes up to you, give it a little pet or grab its tail without actually pulling on it. When a log is in your path, use the stabilizers until you're really good at this, or until it's obvious there's nothing to hold on to. Walk to the end of that log. Look for gaps that you are supposed to step inside. Some things you can step over. Other things you're supposed to step in between the gaps of the sticks. Okay. Taking a spider out of my hair that was hanging from a little thread. So these logs that you're walking along, you want to walk, if you can, to the very end of the log. Okay? Without breaking. Sometimes it is okay if you break. Sometimes it's okay if you touch the ferns. It all depends on what you think your move is at the time. So here I've reached the end of the log. I'm going to step carefully, not on that branch. I get my foot to the very end of the log and I gain my balance before I move forward. Take 3 deep breaths while you're gaining your balance. Not enough time to do that right now. So I'm going to step onto this log. See if I can balance. Okay, I did not pull that one off. Now you'll find different things that call to you. You do what this game is about, following the guidance that you're being guided by. Look at that. What is that? It's not a mushroom. If this was a mushroom, I would definitely want to touch it. I don't know if I was supposed to touch that or not. Some things you're supposed to touch with your right hand, some things with your left hand. Some things you just hover your hand over. Feel the energy. This feels like a hover. Don't actually touch this. Just hold your hand over for a second or 2 or 3. There we go. Ooh, look at this. An archway. An archway seems like it's being called to be walked underneath. So, and here's another little cross archway here. I'm going to hold this guy out with my hand so I'm not touching it with my body. And I'm going to move through here. I did touch the archway a little bit, that's okay. This archway is big. There's a foothold right there. The light is shining on it. It's in between branches, see that? There's a very interesting piece of fungus right there. That's a weird one. You want to try to guess whether you're supposed to touch the fungus. This one I can't resist because it's so jelly looking. And yeah, sure enough, it is very jellyish. Feel the energy coming out of it. Okay, that's enough. That one I wasn't supposed to touch, or at least not for very long. Okay, here we have a good example. I need to get through here without touching that little branch, either of those branches. So now I'm actually on all fours. Doggy, grab its tail. Don't pull hard. Just enough to let it know, hey, you're with me. And I recognize that. Doggy, touch that. Sometimes when the dog touches the branch, that means you're actually supposed to touch it on purpose. But now that I'm moving past it, I want to try not to. I touched the fern. That's okay. I don't think I died from that. If you touch 3 things that you know you're not supposed to touch, that might lead you to dying. One way to tell if you've died is if you're balancing on a log that you know you're not supposed to be touching the ground, and you fall off that log and your foot touches the ground, that is a death. You died. What am I supposed to do here? Okay. If you ever don't know what to do, take a second, take a couple breaths, look around. Okay, I'm prying this guy out of my way. I'm stepping through here without touching any of these guys if I can. Now, I didn't pull that off, but this is more of an explanation video than actually winning this game. I'm not trying to win right now. I'm trying to explain what I'm doing. There is a stump, and there's a mushroom on the stump. 2 mushrooms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand at the base of the stump. While I'm standing on the stump, I try to determine, do these look like a mushroom that I should be touching? I'm going to do it. Bzzz. You never eat the mushrooms, obviously. Mushrooms being available are the reason why in the fall is such a good time to play this game. Now, stumps can be checkpoints. Standing on top of the stump. But this one is falling apart, so I can tell that that is not my move. Sometimes the conclusion of the level you're on is you stand on 3 stumps that you just happen to come along. You stand on those stumps. Okay? If you're at the level where you're trying to not touch the ground and follow the sticks in the forest, a old rotting log, something that you can almost step through, is a place to rest, catch your breath. Old rotted logs, resting places. Now, if you are on the level where you're trying to not touch the ground, and you have to touch the ground, you want your foot exactly balanced. It doesn't matter if the sides of your feet are touching the ground. It doesn't matter if I'm gonna try to move this guy out of my way and hold my balance at the same time. Oh. Couldn't really see what I did there, but I'm keeping my foot balanced on this stick. All the way to the end, which is lit up by light. So that's good. And then onto this next stick. All the way to the end. One more stick. I broke that one. That doesn't matter. Some things you don't want to break, some things you do want to break. Here we have a climb. Climbing trees, anything goes when you're climbing trees. So hands, feet, step further, whatever. And here's the trick with climbing trees. You never ever want to put weight on a dead branch. You want to know how to tell if the branch is alive. So now I'm standing on it with no support from my hands at all, wondering which way to go. I take a second, I look around, I observe my next path. Okay, am I supposed to walk down this small tree, small alder? Am I supposed to break this off? No, it doesn't want to break easily. I'm going to turn around and head for the light. The light can guide you. Okay. I'm gonna hop over. Now, if you get poked in the eye hard, that means you just missed. That means you might have died. But if you get poked in the eye a little bit, then that's okay. I see a place here where I'm trying to walk through without touching. If there's a path, a clear path you can get through without touching, then that's what you're supposed to do right then. If you're walking and you accidentally, I'm going to do this just for the sake of the video, accidentally break a branch, but then you catch it or it ends up in your hand, you're supposed to toss it to see if you can get it to land somewhere without falling to the ground. I succeeded on that one. Which direction, right or left or straight? That is quite often the question. When you don't know, a little trick. First of all, look down or look up. To the sky or to the forest floor. And sure enough, there's a mushroom right there. I'm going to touch the mushroom. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I can feel the energy coming off of that thing into my finger. That gives you a little boost. Depending on the color of mushroom. Brown mushrooms do something different than white mushrooms. And I avoid mushrooms with frayed edges, bites out of them, or any mushrooms that look scary. I do not touch those. Any mushrooms that I'm questioning, I might hold my hand over to absorb energy without touching them. Nettles, obviously you don't want to touch with your bare skin. Okay. This guy is dead, so no, he's not dead. Well, part of it is. I got a raindrop fell right on my left to my eye. It's on the left side, so that means I'm not gonna go that way. I'm gonna go a different way. Raindrop falling on you from a tree above. That's a message. You listen to it. Old rotted stump, definitely not something that I want to climb. Some stumps are inviting to climb, just like some routes, some trees, some fallen logs, and some of them aren't inviting. Some of them you can tell are a death trap, are destined to fall if you try to walk on them. Now some ones I'll just walk on for 3 steps, get my balance, and then step to the next log. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, oh, not 3. So I had to catch myself. Catching yourself is always going to be better than allowing your foot to hit the ground, the forest floor, when you're balanced on a log. If you're balanced on a log, you're not supposed to be touching the forest floor. If you're about to fall and touch the forest floor, then you're better off trying to stabilize yourself. If you don't need to stabilize yourself, then don't. And remember, level 1, you're not so much worried about balancing on logs and sticks. You're just kind of walking through the forest, following the guidance, attempting to turn the right direction, attempting to walk through areas without touching or without breaking little sticks. Moss. That looks like some very inviting moss. I'm just going to take a moment. Maybe this is part of the game. Maybe I just like moss. Who knows? But I feel like if something invites you, touch it. And then look at that. 2 more bright colored, inviting patches of moss. So I touched 1. I touched 2. Take another step. Touch 3. Okay? I'm not going to worry about touching those 2 because I like the number 3. Now, it seems to me like walking on this log is a good decision. I'm going to move this one out of the way without breaking it, hopefully. I wish I had a GoPro for this, but since I don't, I'm only one-handed, but as the game gets more advanced, I'm going to bungee cord this phone to my chest so I can use both hands. Oh! I slipped, so I grabbed this. That is not a death. That is, if that happens too many times, you will end up falling and dying. Oh, quite often, you're only supposed to touch your stabilizer once. Once you let go of your stabilizer, now you're not supposed to touch it again. And I accidentally let go of it, so then I couldn't grab it again, so now I'm moving forward. Look at those little black things. Do those look like something I want to touch? Do those look like something I want to try to step over? Here's a loose branch. So without breaking this branch, I'm just going to move it out of my way. There we go. Sometimes you use the branch to move a nettle out of your way. See if I can pull this one off here. Stepping forward. Oh! I died. Now when you duck, here's where it gets interesting, okay? When you die, you can get back up to where you were, and you can reverse. You can reverse all the way along where you fell off of until you find a knot on the tree. And I'm not seeing any, so I have to keep going. Okay, here's where I stepped up onto the tree. So I'm just going to keep reversing the same way I came. No knots. If you're on a route that's too tricky to reverse, just keep moving forward. Don't even bother trying to reverse. But if you just missed a route that you think you might be able to accomplish, reverse until you think that you've found a place that might be a checkpoint. Now, checkpoints can be distinguished by knot holes, and they can also be distinguished by old rotted logs. Or old stumps, perhaps. Here looks like a checkpoint. Stand on this old stump if it'll let me. Now, I've reversed far enough. I take 3 breaths in, slowly hold at the top, then breathe out. Do that 3 times. hop down. Now I'm ready to attempt this section again. I can attempt each section that I fall on. I'm allowed to attempt 3 times. Once I've attempted, so this is my second attempt, I would get 1 more if I don't make it on this one. And this time I'm going inside of this instead of my left leg going outside of it. Move it over. Try not to touch the big tree that's obviously there to stable me if I need it. And just keep moving forward here. Can I do this? Focus. And remember, when you need to balance, you use your breath. That's a very slippery one. So that might not have even... I think that is doable. It's just that I wasn't being very careful about it. Or I was attempting to do a route that I just wasn't ready to do. Instead of going back and trying this one a 3rd time, I'm just going to move forward, especially because it cracked and broke there. Okay. I know this video is kind of long, but I will be in the woods playing this game for 2 hours at a time. Why? Because it's that friggin' cool. There's a doggy. Pet her. Remember to do that. If you're lucky enough to have a dog without a leash, always grab that tail when she comes up to you. And also, she's a way to tell if you made it to the end of the level or not. If you think you got to the end of the level and you're standing there wondering if you did or not, then just pause, wait a few minutes, and if the dog comes up to you expecting to be petted or wanting to say hi, then that means you did get to the end of the level or the end of the section of the level. Quite often, if you don't know which way to go, you just wait for your dog to show up and then try to follow her. That is a route right there. So I'm going to take a left-hand turn and I'm going to step up onto this route, attempting to not use my hands to stabilize, even though there's sticks everywhere I can grab. Oh! Okay. I had to brush my back of my hand against that stick, just barely. This stick, I'm going to move out of my way. And I'm using it as a stabilizer a little bit. Stepping in between the leaves, right there. Trying not to step on the leaves or on the sticks. Stick. Sometimes you gotta step on the leaves. Three steps on that big log that I transferred to, and then it was time to step off. On a different level, I would have been supposed to stay on here, like so. Move these guys out of my way. Get to the very end. I'm actually suspended above the ground here. And then see if I can make it to the big squishy log, which just crumbles underneath me. And since I made it onto there, then I get up on top of this one and move forward to the end of this log, or at least part way down it. Does that look like something I want to step on? I don't think so. That's kind of a scary looking stick, or like rolled up bark. So I'm going to step over it. Now here's a route that might be not doable, but I'm going to try it anyway. And since this is a high level route, and I'm not at the top of my game right now, I'm going to use these branches as stabilizers. Only touching each one time. Being very aware of this slippery spot since it's been raining. Stepping over the slippery to the tread of the moss. Here I'm using my hands as a stabilizer, because otherwise this would be a very high level route.